Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Southern Virginia University Women's Soccer from the fields at Southern Virginia University. I'm Jim Bresnahan, joined tonight by Sam Horman, ready to bring you Knights women's soccer action as the Knights get ready to take on the Randolph Wildcats. The Knights coming in with a record of have won one game, and they've lost 4, and they've tied 1. And, of course, that one victory was last week against Potomac State College, a 9-0 victory, Sam. Most recently, last Saturday at Averett, they had a really hard-fought 1-1 tie against Averett, so they're 1-4-1 of the season, and they'll be facing a Randolph Wildcats team today that has won a couple of games.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they're definitely trying to build off the momentum. They got a lot of momentum from a big win on Wednesday, 9-0 against Potomac State College. That's just scoring every few minutes. That's a great momentum builder. And then I know they had a little bit of a heartbreaker on Saturday at Averett. Definitely had some mistakes. I talked to a few of the players, a couple of things that they'd like to correct, a few things they'd like to, they want to come away with the win, and especially when it's so close, getting in the overtime. See them right here already, getting pretty excited before the game, but definitely looking to correct some things from the weekend.
And the Knights will be playing their next 3 games at home, tonight against Randolph, Saturday against Salisbury, and then next Tuesday against Emory and Henry before they have their next road contest a week from Saturday against Penn State Harrisburg. Of course, this is obviously non-conference. The Knights will be opening up conference play, though, within a few days, so they're really trying to prepare for the Capital Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have a pretty tough second half of the schedule. The Capital Athletic Conference is a really pretty stacked conference. They have quite a few very competitive teams, so they're definitely trying to just fix up those last little things. I know that Randolph has gotten a couple of wins over a couple of teams. They've had not a terribly difficult schedule, so they've had some wins that they've come away with. This last weekend against John Wesley, came away with a 6-1, but the Knights definitely looking to really build before the competitive half of their schedule.
And it looks like before they get ready for Capital play, they're kind of checking some different goalkeepers out here and there.
Yeah, they definitely are. They started with Katie Vaughn in goal for the first couple of games, and then we saw Carmel Armstrong in for a little while, and now they have moved to Meredith Ouellette. There's no injuries that I'm aware of for either Katie Vaughn or Carmel Armstrong, so it looks like they're just trying a couple of different goalies, get it a few different looks. I know each goalie has their strength as far as communication with the back line, athletic ability, diving, positioning. There's a lot of things that factor in, so it looks like Coach Cox has elected to try a few different players and see what she gets from them.
You know, a lot of coaches obviously treat non-conference games pretty much like that, a situation where you're really preparing your team for Capital play in this case, and you're not really overly concerned, let's say, with wins and losses. You'd like to win, obviously, these non-conference games, but you really want to fine-tune your team for the Capital play, and that means really getting the best players at the best spots.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think really, goalkeepers, the only place they've really shifted up positioning. For the most part, they've been pretty consistent in the attacking third and the midfield and the defensive third. They've really had some players step up in the last couple games. So I think goalie is the only position that seems to be kind of at odds. But we'll see how it goes for Meredith Ouellette today.
You mentioned, of course, the 9 goals the Knights had recently against Potomac State College. Take away that, obviously, the other 5 games, and they've only had 2 goals in the 5 games. So for the larger picture, they have kind of struggled on offense, which has been the case for really both men's and women's soccer for the last couple of years. And so it's a situation where the Knights, for both men's and women's soccer, is really trying to get that offense going.
Yeah, absolutely. They really, both the men's and women's team actually have done pretty well in the defensive third, but you can only stay in the game so long without scoring. Just the momentum of the game shifts to one team. Even if you're staying in competitive, unless you score, that other team starts to build up. And so even though they have done pretty well in defensive third, the offense has got to keep them in the games.
And that pretty much makes it a situation where, for the women at least, they really want to try to get on the scoreboard first, because when you look at some of their losses this season, they lost to Meredith 2-0, lost to Bridgewater 2-1, also shut out by Salem and Ferrum 4-0, Salem 2-0, as we mentioned, most recently a 1-1 tie against Averett.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely are looking to get some goals as they move down the field quickly here. Might have their first shot on goal.
And that one just went to the left. I thought that was going in. That came so close. They still have a chance here, and that shot's off to the right.
Oh, that's a great attack from the Knights, though. Like to see them within the first 3 minutes really getting some attacking pressure on on Randolph here. That's a pretty good attack. Unfortunately, just barely came off the post and then shot just wide there.
And it looked like that ball was spinning because it looked like it was going to have enough space to get in on the left side, but it must have been spinning a little bit because it kept going left.
Yeah, I think she was just reaching a little bit far. It looked like her plant foot was a little bit too far back. She was pretty close with the goalie there, and looked like she was just trying to get it in before the goalie could get to the ball. Sometimes you just reach a little bit farther than you need to, and I think that accounted for the spin.
Great opportunity, though, for the Knights, and good offense there by the Knights. Still nothing on the scoreboard here in the first 3 minutes of this contest, but the Knights are really doing a great job staying on the offensive end.
Yeah, they've definitely, in all their games so far, they've really favored this close sideline. They like to work with Carissa Barton, number 10 here, right up the sideline. She's really, really good at getting into the corner and just causing problems for the left back of whoever they're playing. So really, they've definitely favored that side and continue to favor it here in this game.
And Rigby taking a shot off to the right side. Rigby's, of course, been their top goal scorer this year. She had a monster game against Potomac State.
Yeah, she really did. She had a hat trick. Just came in really strong. She's definitely leading the team in shots and goals. She's really, really stepped up for the Knights.
Just a freshman, 5'5", from Rexburg, Idaho.
Not too far from me. 30 minutes away. But, yeah, she's really come in and stepped it up in her first few college games.
Knights trying to stay on the attack. Randolph really hasn't had the ball too much here in the opening 4 minutes. These two teams do have a couple of common opponents. The Knights lost to Ferrum 4-0, and Randolph only lost to Ferrum 1-0. And I believe both these teams, and the Knights had that 1-1 tie against Averett, whereas I believe the Randolph College Wildcats were able to slimly, with very close game, had that victory over Averett. So they've got some common opponents.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of commonality, and so I think they've both recognized on the other team's schedule the teams that they have played, and so they've tried to kind of size each other up a little bit. But you know, really, it's just whoever steps on the field, anyone can win on any given day. So looks like the Knights really controlled for the first couple minutes. Looks like Randolph's starting to settle in, get a little bit more possession.
And the Knights in the last couple of minutes, Sam, they've had just some problems going with their passing game and just trying to maintain possession of the ball.
I'm not sure what the game plan was on that one. It just rolls out for a Knights throw-in.
Knights have really had the only good opportunity to score so far here in the opening 5 minutes.
Which has been interesting because in some of their previous games, they've maybe come out a little bit slow, and then at the end of the first half and the second half, the last 5 minutes of both, they really step it up and put a lot of pressure on. It looks like Coach Cox has tried to reverse that and put the pressure on in the first 5 minutes, which is a much better strategy to me, and Knights definitely doing a good job of executing that. Came in, put some pressure immediately on the goal. He got a couple shots on goal.
Well, the Knights have, I believe, 11 total goals this season. Randolph's got 13, and I believe 6 of their 13 goals have been scored by number 5, Delaney Doyle, 5'2" forward out of Gloucester, Virginia.
Yeah, she's definitely going to be the person that the Knights need to watch out for. It looks like already Randolph's tried to shift it down to the near sideline again, trying to find her. She's definitely a dangerous attacker.
And thus far in the opening 6 minutes or so, Sam, the Wildcats, I don't think, have had it hardly at all in the offensive end, and certainly Meredith Willett at goal has not had a shot to contend with.
Yeah, it looks like Randolph's just almost a little bit uncomfortable. They seem kind of out of position. They're kind of just running around a lot.
Good pass there, but it just went a little too far. Knights still have it. Trying to set up for some sort of shot from the right side. A little breakaway here. That shot right to the goalkeeper, though.
It's a great job by the Knights, though. She had that opportunity to cross it into the center, too. I'm not even sure she realized that. It looked like she just looked up, saw the goal, and tried to go to the near post in the upper 90, but maybe should have looked inside, taken another touch. Had a pass there.
Goalkeeper for Randolph was Quinlan Bates, senior out of Culpeper. And Randolph has had a couple of, actually 3 goalies, Shelby Lutz, Stephanie Quirk, and now Quinlan Bates, all in goal playing this season. And I believe this is Bates' first start, although the other 2 have had the other starts in the other 5 games. So sort of like Southern Virginia, Randolph testing its goalkeepers in the opening games of this 2017 season.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, it's a very difficult first half for the goalie that's facing the sun. If you just look at the shadows of some of the players, you can see the sun is coming right into the goalie's face. And so it's very, very difficult until that falls behind the ridge line. So any shot that gets lofted above a couple of feet is really, really difficult to see. I've been on the receiving end of that. So that's definitely going to be something that the Knights try to take advantage of in the first half.
Yeah, you usually think of the sun coming into play for an outfielder in baseball, but not usually for soccer for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's usually not too much of an issue, but you can see a few of the players holding their hand up over their eyes. Definitely the goalie will be. Any ball that gets lofted anywhere near is going to be a challenge.
Well, have you heard that one before for goalkeepers? I lost it in the sun.
You know, it's not very common, but
you could see that happening, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knights trying to get back into the offensive end. Scoreless first half so far. Played almost 9 minutes. Going to be a busy Saturday coming up on this coming Saturday. We've got football at 1 o'clock, followed, Sam, by soccer doubleheader. Of course, you'll be actually in that football game as the kicker and punter, and then we'll have soccer doubleheader, men's and women's soccer.
Yeah, definitely be a busy Saturday.
Knights on the left side. A lot of defenders to face with, trying to do a centering pass. No one there for the Knights, and Randolph comes away with it.
Yeah, that's one of those hopeful crosses. Just kind of put it back on the D of the 18-yard box and then hope someone's there. Unfortunately for the Knights, they had made some runs trying to get ahead behind the defensive line as the ball had made it pretty far deep into the box, about the 6-yard box, and then looked like she just turned around and hoped to lay it off, but no one there.
It was a good opportunity because on the left side they drew 4 defenders. You got to figure if you get it into the middle to an open player that there's not hardly going to be any defenders in the middle at that point.
Yeah, which is how the Knights scored their first goal of the year. Basically ran it down to the end line and then crossed it back into the center. Cora Jewell was just right there and just slotted it in the far post. Did a really good job, honestly. Looks like the Knights trying to go back to that.
Good pass. Good defense, though, by Randolph to kick the ball away, at least momentarily. The Knights trying to stay on the offensive attack here. And the ball's kicked over to the right side. That was a good play by the Randolph defender to maybe deprive the Knights of a breakaway one-on-one attempt with the goalkeeper.
Pass seemed a little bit harder than she was hoping to, but looked like she might have been trying to get it all the way across the box rather than trying to hit Taylor Mercer right in the center there.
You know, outside of the opening minutes, Sam, Randolph really has not possessed the ball in the offensive end. The Knights really have not been pressured at all defensively.
Yeah, the formation of Randolph here just seems kind of stagnant. Each player's in their zone and they're in position really, but they're not moving towards the ball. They're not shifting. They're not covering. They're really not that mobile. They seem kind of stuck in their own spot. And the Knights spreading all over the field. You've seen them attack down this near sideline. They're on the far sideline now. They've worked it through the center. They've gone right down the center on attack.
Now here comes Randolph with an opening, and
we'll have
offsides. Yeah, offsides. Fortunately, against the Wildcats.
Nice, doing a good job there, holding that line. You gotta hold that one high.
Ann Powell with the ball. She started last year 16 to 17 games. Been a great player for the Knights for soccer for really the last couple of years now. She's also named to the CAC All-Academic team. She's really been a standout performer for the Knights when it comes to women's soccer the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. She does a really good job. She's also very, very quick, which is very difficult for most teams to try to find an attacker to go at her. She's really good at covering for outside backs and running a switch with them too. So really been a defensive leader for the Knights in the back line.
Good pass. And the goalkeeper comes out and makes a smart play. Deprives the Knights of a potential goal.
Good job seeing that through ball, though. Looked a little bit tough getting through, but she managed to find that run, split between the center backs. Good job.
And Bates, really, the goalkeeper, didn't have much of a choice. If she'd have hung back, that might have been a goal for the Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got to come off her line for that. Good job recognizing that. Those one-on-ones, they're real tough on goalies.
Do you ever see goalkeepers in a situation like that be passive and hang back?
If they do, they get scored on. But
and they
usually,
probably don't remain goalkeepers very long.
yeah, usually the uncomfortable ones will, but usually see them come off their line unless there's any other defender anywhere in the vicinity. But
and then it's just a matter of whether in this case, the Knights can get to the ball sooner than the goalkeeper. And if they do, obviously it's a point-blank shot.
yeah, absolutely. And it looked like in that case it was just a little bit too far. But the Knights have gone to that long through ball a couple of times. Looks like they will continue to do so throughout the game.
It's Taylor Mercer with the ball. And now the Knights will work it upfield. But the Wildcats step into that pass. Every effort by the Wildcats to get really firmly on the offensive end with their passing game has gone awry. And the Knights have been able to really possess the ball for, well, we played about 14 minutes here, Sam. What would you say? Maybe 12 minutes they've had possession?
Pretty much. Great through ball there by Cora Jewell trying to get into the center.
Centering pass goes past the intended target, but the Knights still have it in the middle. And now Randolph takes it away.
Oh, such a good look there by the Knights. Great vision. Cora Jewell looking upfield, trying to find someone, making that run into the center. But it seems like the Knights are struggling. Once they get down to the end line, they're having a hard time getting it back into the center, trying to find any other pass to get it to.
And as you can attest, Sam, when you're in that situation, you literally have a split second to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's so easy to watch and think that was the wrong decision, but it is very difficult to try to find someone. You're trying to shield the ball, keep the defender off, find someone in the center of the field. So it is very difficult, but it looks like the Knights have had their chances to get that type of a goal there.
Whistle against the Wildcats. Knights will have it. Closing in on the 30-minute mark here in the first half. Knights have had some good looks at the goal for Randolph. The Wildcats have really not possessed the ball hardly at all on offense.
Looks like Randolph trying to find some of their best players again. Looks like they're going to Delaney Doyle again, trying to ignite something here.
Yeah, Doyle didn't have it very long, and now the Wildcats are trying to maintain possession, and Knights are trying to get it back. Kicked out. So the Knights will have it on the throw-in. Pass towards the middle, but well, that will come up for this one. Knights are hoping these opportunities they've had, Sam, will, they'll just keep getting these opportunities, and they won't regret missing these opportunities if Randolph suddenly goes on a hot streak.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like Randolph was trying to get something going there, but the Knights definitely need to capitalize soon if they want to try to put this game away early. They've had their chances, but so far they've hit the post and put some pressure on the goalie, but haven't come away with any points yet.
Interesting to see how Meredith Willett does tonight, provided, of course, she faces any pressure, and you got to figure sooner or later she will.
Yeah, really all she's had is a couple of drop kicks, a goal kick, but not really anything too bad. So pretty easy night for the goalie so far.
Cora Jewell with it. That pass was meant for possession on the left side, but taken away by Randolph. Wildcats trying to dump it in. They do. And there's a goal for Randolph. Wow. The Knights have been the aggressor throughout this first half, and Randolph, with its first good look on a nice pass, suddenly scores.
Really, their only good look of the game. That was the first time they've actually had the ball, really possessed it, and looked like the Knights just not aware of Doyle working down that sideline. That must be her tactic, is just wait on that sideline and then get behind the outside back, play a long ball over, and she had 10 yards for a while. Looked like a defender moved in at the end, but just putting it away on the Knights. That's a very surprising goal. The Knights really have possessed and controlled the game, but Randolph getting the first point.
Where did you see the defensive breakdown for the Knights on that play, you think?
It looked like a center back came up a little bit early, and then the outside back shifted in just a little bit, and I think that's where Doyle made her run, and that's definitely what Randolph's looking for. Doyle's their main goal scorer. She's responsible for almost all of their attacking prowess so far.
Yeah.
And
you wonder if the Knights kind of fell asleep because Randolph really hasn't been aggressive and hasn't really looked to go on offense, and suddenly out of nowhere that pops up.
yeah, they definitely won't be now. Definitely trying to move up the field a lot more. Hopefully you see a little more passion out of them. Looks like some of their shots, some of their attack has been kind of passive, but looks like they're going back to the same play here.
And Randolph trying to sneak behind the defense, but enough defenders back there by the Knights to take the ball away.
That's almost that exact same play. You can see the defensive line, it's not a straight line. They do kind of shift up a little bit, and so it looks like Doyle just sneaks in behind that left back, and you'll get a 20-yard ball over the side, and she went for it again, but 3 Knights defenders closed down on her on that one,
But who
preventing
knows?
it.
Maybe that's Randolph's tactics, kind of lull you to sleep a little bit.
Worked here against the Knights for the first few minutes. That was a really surprising goal. Came out of nowhere.
And it really puts the pressure on the Knights. We were talking a few minutes ago that the Knights, maybe they would regret missing some of these opportunities if Randolph scored, and sure enough, that's what happened.
Yeah, now they've really got to step it up if they want to level up this game.
Entering the game for the Knights, number 5, Alissa Winterton.
Alissa Winterton will come into the game for the Knights, a junior, second-year transfer from BYU. She was also named to the 2016 CAC All-Academic Team. She's a junior, 5'8", out of Charlottesville, Virginia.
She's done pretty well in the midfield for the Knights, too. She's really good at just keeping the ball, trying to find the next level, trying to get the pass that she needs.
Knights looking for an opening, needing a score to tie the game. That one goes off to the right.
It's good to see from the Knights that they do need to turn it around quickly here, try to get some pressure, really take advantage of the sun in the goalie's eyes while they have it.
Getting back to that Randolph goal, not a whole lot that will let the goalkeeper could do.
Yeah, those are one of those tough ones where you're not out of control but you are coming off the line very quickly, and so you're running at the attacker trying to take up as much space as you can, and then you kind of just put your legs out and try to block it, put your arms up, but looked like Doyle's been in that situation before and just was able to put it in on the side net. Really not even much of a shot, almost just a pass into the net, but a good job.
Knights have been trying to sneak that pass really throughout the first half behind the Randolph defense, but not able to that time. How important, Sam, do you think it is for the Knights with all these early opportunities to try to get the equalizer before we reach halftime?
Well, I think that's been an area where they've kind of struggled in some previous games. And so I think getting the momentum really going into halftime, especially, you can carry it through. And then the discussion becomes so much different during halftime. So, I mean, the earlier you score it, the more you can talk about it. But really, if the Knights don't execute on some of their opportunities, it makes the halftime discussion a lot less friendly. And so that can kind of weigh on the team on the second half.
Good job by Ann Powell to take the ball away, and then good trip from behind. So the Knights will have it here with 24 minutes and 50 seconds to work with. This is Winterton just into the game for the Knights. Knights have been a little inconsistent in this first half too, Sam. At times they have done really well on offense, possessed the ball and had some great looks, and other times they've had problems just making the passes from one to another.
Yeah, it looks like they have kind of settled down now. You can see them spreading out a lot more, covering more of the field, trying to get those the chain passes together. But it looks like they did have a breakdown for a little while, resulted in a goal for Randolph.
That's Doyle with it, number 5, taken away by the Knights momentarily.
Cordial in the middle there, doing a good job trying to find the next level for the strikers. She had a couple through balls get behind the back line, but hasn't broken one free yet. And Pale doing a good job in the defense, trying to work it up. They definitely are favoring the sideline so far today.
This is again the last non-conference game for the Knights before Capital Play starts on Saturday against Salisbury, Saturday at 5:30, right after the football game with Kane. Speaking of which, Sam, because you play on the football team, how are things looking for the football game, the home football game against Kane on Saturday?
Pretty good. We're definitely preparing early. We're doing everything we can. Got a lot of film going on, a lot of practicing, and pretty much preparing like it's any other game, but a little more spirit this week than last week, I think, and I think that'll really show in Saturday's performance. So
I know we've talked about it before with you that when you get to the New Jersey Athletic Conference, when it comes to competition football-wise, there really is no easy games in the conference.
yeah, you got to prepare every week, and that's kind of Coach's motto, is just the 1-0 every week, and I think that's really, unfortunately, it's been a motto across the board for every team, really. You've seen the men's and women's soccer team come with the same approach, even with regardless of what happened in the last game, you just got to move on and play the next play. Looks like the Knights trying to do that here, but unfortunately, this is another area where the Knights have struggled, is corner kicks. They gave up 13 in one of their last game at Salem, and that's unfortunately what did them in the end. Can't afford to give up that many this game.
Yeah, Garrett had that corner kick from the right side. Nothing really materializing from it for Randolph. Although the Wildcats are trying to keep it in their offensive end.
A lot of pressure, a lot of Wildcats still down right with the back line for the defense, but not getting it through. Nice, good job. Good job there spreading out across the field. You can see already wings out on the far sideline and then up on the numbers here with the other ones. Good job covering the whole field, making Randolph really spread out. You got to cover everyone.
With a struggling offense like the Knights have had this season, except for that 9-goal flurry against Potomac, how important is the passing game? You got to have nice, short, crisp passes.
Yeah, absolutely. The passing game is a build up to everything, as we see
pass
here.
There, but again, the goalkeeper Bates able to beat the Knights to that ball.
She's really been on top of that. Just seeing, you can see the intent from the midfielders. They're definitely looking for that next level, and they're so close, just a couple of feet, and then a little bit closer. Really, they're getting dangerous attacks, but hasn't resulted in anything.
Knights still have just over 20 minutes to work with before we reach halftime.
Unfortunately, just let that one roll out for a goal kick. Again, the Knights able to get the ball down into their attacking third to really create a presence, but then just that one pass can really undo it all.
To a certain degree, obviously, this goalkeeper, Bates, has been one of the early stars of the game for Randolph. She's been able to keep her team in the game by keeping the Knights off the board.
Yeah, she's done a good job. She's really aggressive and coming off her line, and that's really all the Knights have put pressure on her for tonight. So she's done a good job of taking up space quickly before the Knights can get a shot off.
You can see Doyle also, as you mentioned, very quick with the ball, very quick with her feet. Knights trying to go back on the attack here, down by one. Centering pass.
Good job using up the pressure there. The Knights definitely having a hard time once they get down, so they can't be afraid to turn around and just drop it back to their defense. This is what happens when they do. Now they get another chance to build up.
Trying the right side with Carissa Barton. Barton got past one or two defenders, got into the middle, but a centering pass was met by two defenders.
Again, looking for Cora Jewell at the top of the 18. That's been a familiar play for the Knights. Really doing a good job getting it deep in and then not able to do anything, dropping it back out and getting it deep in again. But Cora Jewell had two men on her there at the end, and that's tough to shoot on.
Good pass towards the middle, but it's a little too far, and Bates comes out again. Pass by Auger, trying to get it to a teammate, but the pass, Sam, just a little too far.
It's been the plague of the Knights so far tonight. It's about their fourth or fifth one. They're just a little bit shorter, and they could get a point out of that. But I'm sure Coach Cox will be addressing that at halftime.
Strange first half. We've got a little over 18 minutes to go. The Knights have really dominated offensive possessions, and perhaps the opportunities, the offensive scoring opportunities, but yet Randolph has that one shot on goal that went past the goalie, and as a result, they've got the 1-0 lead here.
Yeah, I mean, within the first 3 or 4 minutes, the Knights put one on frame, hit the post, and then put one just past the opposite post. But Randolph has taken advantage of their one opportunity, and really, that's been the difference. That's how you win games.
Yeah, you wonder if the Knights had that one go in, that very first shot in the first few minutes, instead of curling off to the left, if it would be 1-1 right now, or if maybe this game would have a completely different complexion.
Yeah, it definitely can be kind of demoralizing to get scored on that early, so I really think it would have changed the outcome of the game. It doesn't necessarily make you a better player, but it changes your mentality, and so it changes how you approach things, and that actually can make you a better player. So I think it really would have changed the complexion of the game. But
yeah, instead of the frustration by almost scoring, perhaps you get a little, salivating at the idea. Hey, we scored. Let's go for number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like that's what's been their effect for Randolph. Unfortunately, it was as they scored first, but the Knights not easing up so far.
Good defense by the Knights to take the ball away, but they give it right back up. So we mentioned they've had at times sometimes this first half, Sam just having a hard time possessing the ball, maintaining possession.
Yeah, even still, they haven't really, Randolph hasn't really connected a whole lot of passes. It's kind of just getting the ball around and it ends up at their feet, but they've made their chance count. So that's where they beat the Knights, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, you could argue in this first half so far that the Knights have outplayed the Wildcats, but still the Wildcats have the all-important goal on the board.
Yeah, the scoreboard is the ultimate decider here, even if the stats may say something else, possession may say something else, but Randolph's got the goal so far.
You mentioned that home football game with Kane coming up on Saturday. Hard to believe after that you've only got 2 more home football games. This is probably the first time I can recall in recent memory the Knights have not had a home football game in November.
Yeah, both of them are away in November. But
oh, here comes Doyle, but the Knights are able to get 3 defenders back.
Good job by Ann Powell there to get back. That's why she's such a leader for the defense. She's just so fast, so aggressive in getting back and covering that defender. Great job there.
Yeah, for a split second, it almost looked like Doyle was going to have a breakaway.
Yeah, that's definitely been a weakness for the Knights so far, but Ann Powell recognizing that, playing a little bit back.
Emma Schroeder comes in for the Knights. She's a junior. Yeah, so they've got the October 7th game. It's the homecoming game against Apprentice. That's the 4th home game of the season. And then the last home game of the season, actually that's the last Saturday home game, because the last home game of the season will be a Friday against Frostburg on the 27th of October. And then it's basically 2 road games and the season's pretty much done.
Yeah, still keeps people plenty busy, but yeah, definitely a different schedule we've seen this year than some previous years.
Just with the New Jersey Athletic Conference, there's not a whole lot of opportunities for non-conference action.
Yeah, not really. It's definitely different. The soccer teams get a few games to kind of pick a couple opponents each year, but football team not so much.
Yeah, invariably you'll see soccer and probably to a large degree lacrosse too. A lot of their non-conference opponents are ODAC opponents.
Yeah, they're one of the closest conferences, and so the competition level is definitely a little bit different, and some different looks from some different teams. So
yeah, you were talking about how that men's soccer game against Washington Lee turned out, and Washington Lee, as you mentioned, went in one of the top 10 teams, at least poll-wise, in the country, and they certainly showed it in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that was a tough game for the men's team. They really played hard, but with a team as good as Washington and Lee, it's really hard to stay in it that long. They made a few mistakes. It didn't turn out the way they wanted, but really they came out smarter for it and really did pretty well this last weekend. Got a couple of wins, so they learned what they needed to from it.
Yeah, to get the impression the men's soccer is really advancing and that they could be a tough team to maybe perhaps meet when it comes to capital play.
Absolutely. I think both of these teams, really, the men's and the women's teams, are definitely upping their game a lot, getting a lot more competitive. It's just it's a building program. I mean, Coach Cox has only been here. This is her 2nd year, and really she's done a good job in bringing their team together and creating a formation, creating a style and a culture that's what's really hard for most teams is creating
Yeah.
a culture. But
Shot off to the left again as the Knights had a good look at it for a split second. There was a defender right in the face, though, of the Knights, so not too good of a shot opportunity there.
it's unfortunate they have 6 players up in the attacking third, and really only 2 of them get any possession on that. It's been hard for them to try to find the other players in there, but you see they have 6 players there, and then the person that shoots it has 2 people marking her, and they got to find that other player, got to find their teammates.
You mentioned Mackenzie Cox, second season, of course, and the Knights have obviously went through a transition when it comes to the men's soccer head coach.
Yeah, Coach Boer in his first year here, done a pretty good job with fairly limited numbers.
Turnover, Knights have it. See what they decide to do here on the right side.
Good passing from the Knights. This is what they've missed on some of their other opportunities.
Trying to maintain possession. Randolph trying to get out of there with the ball.
Good little string of passes there, though. That's what the Knights have really been struggling with in the attacking third. Good to see they're working towards it.
Well, the Knights have 12 minutes left until halftime. Trying to get that first score on the board. A lot of the offensive categories, when you look at the halftime stats, Sam, they'll dominate the Knights will. But that one important category, goals, is right now where they're trailing 1-0.
Yeah, and you can see already Delaney Doyle out on the right side, or out on her left side, definitely trying to get open. She's definitely been the biggest threat against the Knights tonight, coming away with the only goal on pretty much a one-on-one against the goalkeeper. Randolph definitely trying to work it back to her throughout the game. Randolph takes the throw in here.
Knights have 11 minutes to work with before halftime, trying to work it upfield.
Oh, great move there down the line to beat the defender.
Knights trying to work it around to the middle now, and Randolph trying to take it away. And the Wildcats had it momentarily, but the Knights come right back. A rare mistake there by Doyle, who had it and lost it.
Yeah, Cora Jewell trying to find that pass
Nice
in the
pass. And offside is the call.
center.
That was close.
They've been doing so good trying to find that through ball there. Played it to her back shoulder there. Looked like she might have been able to come around on it, but she's just a little bit too aggressive there, getting behind the back line. So close again for the Knights.
Because if you don't have offsides called there, who would have got to that ball first, the Knights or maybe Bates again?
Yeah, it's definitely close, but she had a much better chance on that one. That was just so close for the Knights yet again. Looks like the Knights have shifted Shirley Morales-Yan back to the right back position to cover Doyle. Morales-Yan definitely one of the runners on the team. She's definitely not afraid to get up and down the field. Does a pretty good job, which I think is what the Knights need in that right back position, covering Doyle. So a good shift there by Coach Cox.
Well, it's needless to say, in addition to Jan and also Ann Powell, there are a lot of good athletes out there for the Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely have shown that. A couple good moves on the side, a couple great runs through the center. We see another one getting behind the line here, really deep into the attacking third.
Trying to go from left maybe to the middle. They got a little opening on the right as well. Long shot knocked away by Randolph by a defender. That really would have been a long shot on goal, maybe, what, 40, 35 yards, almost 30 yards. Bates able to get past the Knights and a defender to reach that ball. She's taken some real chances in this first half, and it's paid off for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the Knights looking for Carissa Barton down that right side, but the problem is they have 8 players up in the attacking third there, and only 2 of them, or at most 3 of them, are getting any contact on the ball. The rest are just sitting there waiting for it to come to them, and that can't happen. They have to open up space. Carissa Barton makes that run down the sideline, tries to get a split, and it was seen a pretty good run. But
yeah, talk about that a little bit. Once you get into the offensive area and you're one of the Knights' offensive players in the offensive zone, the philosophy, I guess, between perhaps like positioning yourself and sitting still as opposed to moving.
Yeah, the problem that they're having is they're making very straight runs, and there's no complicated movement. It doesn't even have to be incredibly complicated, but just a little bit of overlap or underlap. You see right here, a little triangle passing, but then just a hopeful cross into the center there. It doesn't really result in anything. You want to see players make a curved run or a run along the line to open up space. I think the problem the Knights are having is everyone's trying to make a run for the ball, but someone needs to make a run away from the ball to open up space so that you can then have a place to put the ball. And I think the Knights are all looking for the ball, doing a good job of being aggressive, trying to find, that breakthrough player. But they need someone to create some space. They're being a little bit stagnant up in the attacking third, making parallel runs, straight runs, and that's hasn't really helped them out much.
Winterton doing a good job there to keep the ball away from the Knights' goal, but the ball will belong to Randolph. And another substitution coming in here for Southern Virginia. It's McCall Jensen, freshman out of Ramsey, New Jersey.
We had number 17, Hannah Overstreet, as well for Randolph College, come onto the field there.
Amazing first half for Randolph Wildcats. They have just a one shot on goal, and it turned out to be a goal for them, and that has really been the extent of their offense in this first half.
Yeah, they really haven't had any more opportunities than that. Anything past that, Ann Powell on the back line for the defense really has kind of slowed it down, stopped it, but made the one chance count.
Here's Doyle with it. She tries to go right side, but Willette will come out for that one. Knights trying to work it in, but right now Randolph's got the numbers defensively.
Knights got to settle it down here, try to find a pass. Ball just bouncing around like this doesn't really favor either team, but the Knights definitely, they need to spread out a little bit.
Great move there by Barton to come away with it. But a miscue on the pass, and Randolph is trying to get it back now. This is Doyle with it. You can see how slick she is handling that ball. And I would imagine, Sam, is if the Wildcats take this 1-0 lead a little deeper into the second half, they might maybe forego thinking about a second goal. I mean, perhaps not really thinking too much about offense, just really thinking about protecting that lead.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see in the second half what they go for, because really they haven't had any. They didn't even have build-up on their one goal. It was just one pass over the top that the Knights gave away, and then it was in the back of the net. So they have no opportunity to really build anything. It's just one unlucky over-the-top pass against the Knights, and it ended up in the back of the net. So I think really they'd be happy to just park the bus and walk away with a 1-0 lead. But the Knights definitely not looking to make that happen. They continue to attack relentlessly.
Yeah, I mean, we played over 40 minutes now, and I really would love to know what the percentage is of that 40 minutes the Knights have actually possessed the ball.
It would definitely easily be at
I'm
least
thinking
60,
75%,
65,
maybe,
yeah. The first 10 minutes especially, Randolph only touched the ball a couple of times, but since then it looks like they've settled down. I think they may have shifted some of their players in the formation, and the Knights kind of bunched up for a little bit in the middle there, and didn't work out too well for them. But I'm interested to see the adjustments Coach Cox will be making at halftime.
And it was a little hot out there to start the game, although as we get deeper into the evening, the temperatures will cool down. Probably nothing like you guys for football on Saturday when it was, 85 degrees?
Something like that, 1 o'clock with the sun coming down.
Yeah. And I think that's the forecast for Saturday against Kane. There's a nice pass. Bates is coming up again, though, to make the play from the goalkeeper standpoint for Randolph. Bates has just really made every play she's had to make here in this first half.
Yeah, again, the Knights trying to get that diagonal pass through, trying to find the through ball. Maybe better off going for a parallel, like a square ball or something, because that through ball just hasn't worked so far. Goalkeeper doing a good job knowing when to leave between the posts, and so far, basically come up with every ball so far.
Clock winding down in this first half. Knights came in with a record of 1-4-1 of the season, coming off a tie against Averett and a victory over Potomac State after starting the season 0-4.
Good job by Emma Schroeder there, kind of screening out the player with the ball, not allowing her to get back to it, allowing the Knights to maintain possession there.
Lance will work it over to Winterton on the left side now.
Really want to see something here from the Knights in the last 120 seconds. They definitely have had their chances, but need to capitalize on one here, take a little bit of momentum into halftime.
Yeah, they'd love to get number 4, Rigby, a little bit more involved in the offense, too, in the second half.
Yeah, I think she's definitely been the go-to player. Her and Carissa Barton up the sideline have worked really well together in previous games,
Yep.
but that may have been on the scouting report against the Knights, and so it looks like Randolph's kind of tried to work a different strategy so the Knights can't get into their rhythm, and so far, even though I wouldn't say it's been incredibly successful, it's worked enough that they haven't gotten any goals yet.
Well, the Knights want to be very aggressive here in the final minute 30 to try to get that first goal. But then, again, they don't want to be too aggressive where they give Randolph an opportunity, because the last thing they want to do is go in 2-0 down at halftime.
Yeah, absolutely. That would really, that just breaks the spirits for the Knights. But doing a good job so far. Let's see if they can get one more opportunity in before halftime.
Each team battling for the balls. We near the 60-second mark of this first half.
See already Delaney Doyle trying to just take that left side space. You can see as the ball shifts over there, you can see Shirley Morales-Yan, the right back for the Knights, shift over into the center of the field, which is the correct movement. But Doyle trying to take advantage of that. She's very shifty on the ball. So if
I'm sure Coach Cox knew going in to look out for Doyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barring a last-second goal, you have a collision. It's going to be 1-0 Randolph at halftime. We'll see what happens here in the final 30 seconds.
Looks like we get a free kick for Randolph.
Uh-oh. To the left side. That almost was disaster for the Knights.
10, 9, 8,
Boy, Sam, that probably had for the coaches and the fans their hearts in their throats for a few seconds.
That had me for a little bit. That's a very dangerous ball in, especially when the goalie comes running out of her net as the main defender. That's very, very dangerous. Did a good job getting back between the posts there, but scary opportunity there for Randolph.
So 1-0 at halftime. What do you think Coach Cox will tell her players?
You got to capitalize. You've had too many chances. You got to get points here. You can't walk away with 0 at halftime. They've had easily 10 shots, more. They've hit both posts. They've had through balls for days. You just have to capitalize. You got to just put this in at the end. You can change up a couple of things, change up the runs. They've had good attack, but you have to finish.
Halftime score here from the fields at Southern Virginia University is Randolph College 1 and Southern Virginia University 0. We'll take a little break here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. Welcome back to the fields at Southern Virginia University. Jim Bresnahan back here with you, bringing you women's soccer action tonight. Southern Virginia University against Randolph College. Halftime, Randolph on top here, 1-0. Of course, also joined today by Sam Horman, and we're also introducing into the webcast Chris Fly, who's going to be joining me for a few minutes, and then Chris and Sam will take it for a good part of the second half. And Chris, good chance for folks out there listening to know who you are. Tell us more about yourself.
Well, yes, sir. It's really good to be here today here at Southern Virginia University at the fields. Great soccer game between Randolph College and SVU Knights. A little bit about myself. I'm a freshman here at SVU, and this is actually my first webcast here for the soccer game. I'm really excited to be here and be able to share this moment with you.
And it sounds like you're going to be joining the men's soccer team pretty soon.
Yes, sir, I will. It was a little bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't planning on playing soccer here at Southern Virginia University, but I got a text from Coach Bower the other day asking me to sign up, so I was happy to accept the call of duty.
Because you've been having some health problems last year or two and maybe all ready to go for men's soccer here in the next week or so?
Yes, sir. Let's hope that my condition can settle itself and I can do what I need to do for the team.
How about your impressions of this first half and this women's soccer matchup today between the Knights and the Wildcats?
Well, I'm just going to say I'm really impressed with how well Southern Virginia University has dominated the possession of the ball. Unfortunately, on the scoreboard, it shows that we have 0, and the Randolph College has that one goal that they got early in the first half. But I'm just really impressed with our dominance on the ball and our ability to keep the ball at our feet.
And the Knights trying to go back on the attack here to start this second half, trailing 1-0. And pretty much like we talked about, Chris, at the very end of the first half, the Knights did not want to give up a second goal at the end of the first half to go into halftime down 2-0, and that's probably the same for the opening minutes of the second half. They don't want to get the second goal scored on them and then trail by 2 here in the second half. They want to get the first goal of the second half and tie things up.
That is true. Late in that first half, we had a really big scare in front of our own goal where we almost allowed a second goal, and that would have just been devastating for the team to go into halftime being 2-0 down. And definitely here, we don't want to have an opener early in the second half.
Yeah, you mentioned that play right before the end of half, and you got that and obviously the goal by Doyle. And outside of that, Randolph has just had really nothing offensively to speak of.
Not as much. They really do space themselves out well, though, as we saw. And then that one goal you saw Doyle, she kind of just hangs behind the left back there. And then their midfielders kind of just booted up to her, and if she's open, she takes it. And in that goal, that's exactly what she did. She hid behind the left back, and then someone gave her a good pass. And then she was just there for the open goal, just point-blank shot.
So we played about a minute and a half here of the second half. Knights trying to get the equalizer if they can. Nice pass towards the middle, but just off the foot of the Knights and over to the goalkeeper.
And that was a good pass, what they did just there. They played it right through the middle, right to the feet. Next time she can get a better touch on that, she'll have an open shot on goal.
Yeah, it's all a matter of possessing the ball and then turning and getting the shot, but that didn't happen there for the Knights. Trip from behind, so the Knights will have it.
See what the Knights can do here on this free kick opportunity they have. See if they can find the open player and maybe get something started. Who knows?
And something we also talked about in the first half, Chris, is you wonder just how aggressive or offensive-minded, Randolph's going to be here in the second half, especially as the second half starts to develop and we get a little deeper into the second half. How much they'll really won't worry about getting a second goal or a third goal. They'll just be focused on keeping the Knights off the scoreboard.
And definitely, I think early here in this second half, I think Randolph will be kind of foaming at the mouth for that second goal, as we saw just there from the SVU Knights sending that good ball in.
Another great play by the goalkeeper for Randolph College.
She has just been on the ball. She's done everything she's needed to do throughout this game to keep her side at a clean sheet.
Hard to believe, too, that going into this game, Randolph, kind of like the Knights, have been rotating goalkeepers, maybe trying to give each one a chance to see exactly what they can do, because the way Bates has played tonight, you wonder why she's not starting every game, maybe. Knights trying to work it up to the middle. This is Rigby, their top goal scorer this season.
And that's a good play right there, trying to get it down the line. Unfortunately, having a little trouble there met by the Randolph defenders, but that's a good idea by the Southern Virginia University Knights to bring it down that sideline and find the open space.
All right, so we'll get the throw in here. Trailing 1-0. We played almost 4 minutes of the second half. With the ball on the left side, Taylor Mercer. And now Randolph's going to have it.
I think they just played a little too close to that line, and then unfortunately the ball might have slipped out and then caught by the AR there on the sideline.
Knights trying to take it away. That's Mercer with it. She got a little step.
See what she can do. She's open.
And the shot is stopped. Didn't really get a good hit on that ball.
No, didn't make complete contact with that ball. I feel if she had done that, it would have been an easy goal for the Knights.
She played in 10 games last season before suffering a season-ending injury. She was third on the team with 3 goals for 6 points last season and did a great job to develop that opportunity pretty much single-handedly. Knights had those 9 goals against Potomac. Outside of that, they've had 2 goals in their other 5 games. They've been shut out in several games this season so far, and they're being shut out so far tonight, even though they've had a lot of opportunities. Bates coming out way again for that ball.
She's doing everything she's asked of right now. Coming out to scoop that ball up, no hesitation on her. They say as a goalkeeper, if you hesitate, you lose, and she has not been hesitating this game. That's why she's had so many saves there in the open field.
Makes me wonder, can you actually be overly aggressive, too aggressive, coming out for that ball sometimes?
Oh, definitely you can. If you make that hesitation, then decide later to go, you're already too late. And sometimes if you come out too far, you might catch yourself out of position, and that gives the opposition a chance for an easy goal because you're out of your net at that time.
You mentioned that perhaps Randolph might kind of circle the wagons a little bit later in the second half and really focus strictly on defense. And you also wonder if this 1-0 score holds up a little deeper into the second half. Chris, basically, will the Knights maybe start pressing?
I think the Knights will have to start pressing here in a minute if it gets to that point where Randolph kind of sits back, sits on their laurels, and kind of just holds for the 1-0 win. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll push for that second goal, then maybe park the bus and kind of sit on it. But I think definitely they're going for that at least 2-0 before they start doing that.
Again, Randolph hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities. And what opportunities they have had in this game today, it looks like they at times will try to sneak players around, try to get in and around the Knights defense.
And definitely that seems to be their game plan so far. They keep their strikers back and kind of peel them behind the left and right outside backs and then just kind of poke a ball over and then see if they can get it.
Neither team really doing much here in the last couple of minutes with the ball. And Randolph trying to look for an opportunity here.
There's a good save by Southern Virginia University goalkeeper there.
Who actually has played pretty well, just had that 1 goal given up. And that near disaster, of course, right before halftime, which if you weren't watching with us, Chris, was really scary for Knights fans because the last thing you wanted to have them do is go into the locker room 2-0 at halftime.
Exactly. I definitely was. I actually got to see it. But more importantly, besides going, if she would have conceded that being 2-0 down, the effect it would have had on her and her game.
Yeah.
To be able to go into that half knowing I just gave up this goal that could have been completely avoided. Luckily for SVU Knights, she didn't concede anything, and they could just learn on their mistakes and they can follow the game.
Rigby's been tied up for most of the game. She had an opportunity there, but just a good defense by Randolph to keep her away from the net.
Unfortunate handball call there by the referee. It's now the Wildcats' ball.
And unlike the first half, the Wildcats seemingly here in the second half, and again, we're only 8 minutes into the second half, they seem to be possessing the ball a lot more here in the second half than they were in the first half.
Definitely. They seem to kind of, I don't know what they went over at halftime, but they must have went over keeping the ball at their feet for a longer amount of time as opposed to just kicking away, which they were doing in the first half.
Knights trying to keep it in the offensive end.
There she goes down that line again, finding that space, looking for one of her players.
Jewel passing towards the middle. No one home, though, for the Knights over on the right side.
There's actually promising signs from the SVU Knights that they keep knocking on the door of Randolph College for that goal. Maybe that equalizer coming soon.
Randolph on the attack. Haven't seen a whole lot of this tonight, but the Knights are trying to keep the ball away. And now the Knights will try to go back on the attack here. but they lose possession.
A little bit of a miscue there in the middle of the field.
Each team struggling here in the last couple of minutes to maintain possession of the ball. Mentioned the Knights will be at home on Saturday, taking on Salisbury in their Capital Conference opener. Saturday going to be a busy day. We've got football against Kane at 1 o'clock, and then women's soccer to be followed by men's soccer. So a triple header coming up on Saturday.
Definitely exciting time to be a Knights fan with all the Knights team playing at the same day.
A lot of activity starts maybe around 1 o'clock in the afternoon with football, and probably goes almost till 10 o'clock at night.
A day full of sports for Knights fans out there.
Bates comes out again for the ball, just barely beating the Knights to that ball. But when she has come out for the ball, Chris, she's been able to beat the Knights by literally a half step, and that time it was Palmer she just beat to the ball.
She really has. She has been coming out the entire game, almost playing kind of a sweeper keeper role. Not exactly as high as some of the other sweep keepers you might see, like Emmanuel Neuer in the Bundesliga, but she's definitely, when the ball comes into that box, it is hers and no one else's.
Knights trying to get that equalizer, trying to get that first goal of the game. This is Rigby on the left side.
They've made good progress so far, knocking on the door of the goal, trying to look for that equalizer in the game.
And Randolph has done a pretty good job defensively, kind of spreading out their defense, making sure all areas are covered.
They truly have. And then when they bring it out to the outside, they're doing a very good job at kind of closing in the middle and keeping all the Knights out of the middle, so when that cross comes in, there's no one open to receive it.
Wildcats will have it here as we are under 34 minutes to go. And Bates has been all the way at goalkeeper here for Randolph. 5'7" senior out of Culpeper, Virginia. From a desperation standpoint, Chris, how soon, how late in the game do you think before the Knights really start to get a little desperate to try to get that first goal? Maybe not till like the 5 or 10 minute mark?
I think maybe a little earlier, maybe even the 15, when the players for the Knights start getting in their heads like, hey, we need to get a goal now. Because they don't want to tie this game. They want to win this game. As most players, they don't want to walk away with a tie. They want to walk away. They want it to be 2-1 at the end of the game or even 3-1. So I think at this point, when it comes to 15 minutes, it'll start to become crunch time, and they'll want to be getting a goal and getting a goal quick.
Speaking of which, of course, the Knights are coming off. Their last game was a tie against Averett.
It was, and in that game, I think the Knights did very well at holding the other team to 1. And obviously, Averett did a swell job as well at holding the Knights to 1, given that draw.
You mentioned it's got to be frustrating for soccer players to expend all that energy for so many minutes, obviously hours, and then come away with a tie.
It really is, especially if in the game you have multiple opportunities to grab that goal and you just can't do it. At the end of the game, you're definitely in your own head, kind of kicking yourself at the end of the game almost, because you just, maybe if you got that one to go in, the game would be completely different.
Bates comes out for the ball again. Seemingly every time that she's had the opportunity to come out for the balls, she's done so. Very aggressive. And as we mentioned just a few seconds ago, she's been able to beat the Knights to the ball literally by a half step on several different occasions.
Exactly. Not only is she aggressive, she's extremely efficient when she comes out. Some goalkeepers you'll see will come out and they maybe hesitate or maybe miscue the ball and it goes up and then it's an open opportunity. But she has not been doing that. She's been extremely efficient this game of grabbing that ball when it comes into her 18-yard box.
And if you're the Knights, how do you respond to that, or actually can you?
You definitely can. I think at this point what the Knights need to do is when they get in that box, they need to find quick, concise passes that can get them open shots as opposed to lobbing it in or maybe even a cross. They need to find a through ball that they can shoot a little earlier so it's just outside of that box where the goalkeeper doesn't want to come get it, but just close enough where they're open for a goal without a defender challenging the ball.
Knights launch it in, looking for an over the top.
I'd expect the goalkeeper to come see that. Luckily, the defender did her job extremely well in clearing that ball out.
Yeah, we've talked about the goalkeeper Bates, how impressive she's been, but obviously she's got the defense in front of her. Now the Knights will try to get the equalizer from the middle. It's off to the right. Another great opportunity for Southern Virginia.
And just wide, just right of that goal. And I feel like if it would have just been a few inches higher, it might have been out of the reach of Bates at that time.
We got a timeout here, and I'll shift it over now to Sam Horman, and Sam and Chris will take you a good way home in the second half.
Yeah, I think so far what we've really seen is the Knights they've really tried to up the pressure, but they haven't changed anything in what they've done in their attack. But you've seen Randolph made quite a few adjustments. They've come out, their formation is more spread. You can see their players are still largely doing what they were doing before. It's not incredibly different, but they're doing it so much better. The Knights are really trying to make the same runs and just hoping that it works this time. I think the other thing that we haven't seen from the Knights yet is so far, every time they get that ball upfield, everyone runs away from the ball. They make a run away from the ball. So far, no one's made a run towards the ball and opened up space behind them. That's something that I think the Knights really need to do. It's kind of it's not necessarily even more advanced. They just haven't opened up space for each other. They've each tried to make the run that creates the goal, which is a basic smart play. But as a team, it makes it very difficult when they're all making the parallel run up in the striker zone. I think that's really what we've seen from the Knights. Hopefully they realize that. I'm sure that would have been something Coach Cox addressed at halftime, but they need to shift up something if they're going to get an equalizer here.
Definitely. I think from our spots, at least where we can see the entire game, it can be a little frustrating sometimes to see SVU doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, while Randolph, on the other hand, went into halftime and they obviously came out with a different strategy. They're still playing that poke and hope ball over the top and chance for a goal, but they have done an extremely good job at keeping the ball as opposed to their first half performance where they lost it most of the time to the Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. The execution has just been there for Randolph because really they only had one shot in the first half. The whole first half they had one shot, but they made it. Southern Virginia had 7. And again, the same ball that we've seen right through, the goalie coming off the line again. She's done a beautiful job. She's very quick off the line. But again, the Knights playing that same ball that they played about 6 or 7 times in the first half, a couple times here in the second half, and just hoping that it works this time. They really need to adjust something. You can't just keep going for the same thing and hoping that it goes through.
Truly, the Knights need to find another way to attack at this goalkeeper because she is just swallowing up everything that comes into her box. I can remember back in middle school, one of the teachers told me the definition of insanity is trying something over and over again to see if it works. And I think maybe the Knights have fallen a little bit into insanity here. They need to find another way to attack this goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think the strikers up top are maybe a little bit too set in their position. I want to see a cross from the strikers. Really, as a center back, as a previous center back, that's very difficult to defend. The shift over is very difficult, and really that's what Randolph did against the Knights. Just open up space on the far side, on the back post. A really easy way to do that is switch the strikers, have them run a little cross route, switch sides. It's very simple, opens up the defense, but really we've seen straight runs either down the side or in the middle of the field from the strikers, and it hasn't opened up any space. Sometimes they end up with the ball, sometimes it's very close, but they haven't really ended up with anything yet, and I think they need to change something.
There's an injury here on the field. One of the Randolph players is down. Let's see if we can see who it is here for a second. We're not sure exactly who this player is, but she is down, and she is in considerable pain, it seems, as we see the athletic trainers running onto the field to address her.
Yeah, it looked like she had a little bit of an awkward fall. Sometimes people's ankles can get caught in the turf, or you can twist a knee, something. It looked like just kind of an awkward moment there, a little bit of a collision with some of the Knights players, and she definitely had a strange fall there, which the athletic training staff is addressing very quickly.
That is true, and we will hope that she is perfectly all right and can continue this game.
But I think this is a good opportunity for the Knights. Coach Cox taking a minute to address her players. Hopefully she's trying to fix a couple of things. It looks like she's trying to give a little bit of encouragement. The Knights really have done a few things pretty well, but this is a great coaching opportunity for Coach Cox here.
They have, definitely. I'm sure she's telling them that they're defending very well. And even though Randolph, they had that one shot in the first half and extremely efficient with that shot with getting a goal. But I think she's just trying to explain that defense-wise, they're doing a well job of stopping the ball and getting it up to their offense. And just right now, their offense needs to find something different to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. Maybe a 1-2. You said you played center back before. I played a little bit of goalkeeper, and I know that when the strikers in front of me did a 1-2, I didn't know whether to come out the ball or kind of sit back and kind of trust my reflexes. And I think maybe that could help the Knights grab the equalizer here.
Yeah, absolutely, because really that's just the next step. It's not even anything very technical or complicated. It's just they've been trying to make a singular pass, and then that person works it in and tries to score and gets a shot. And they've had some decent shots from it. Hasn't been terrible, but they've had about 6 players in the attacking third, and it's basically gone between 2 of them. And so you're basically negating the 4 other players' presence. And even if those 4 other players are just creating space, I think that's what the Knights have lacked. Again, the 1-2 pass would be a perfect combination, but even if they just involve a 3rd player, really that would be the game changer for the Knights so far.
The one thing holding the Knights back right now is that Randolph goalkeeper Bates. She's done an extremely good job of snagging up the ball. So like you said, if you bring a 3rd striker in there, it might confuse Bates just enough to get her to hesitate, and then we can get a shot on goal.
Absolutely, because the Knights have done a really good job of getting deep pressure into the attacking third. They get pretty much inside the 6-yard box or almost all the way down to the end line, and then it just kind of breaks down from there. You don't really see any movement or any change, and so I think if they did have another player in there, Bates would have a really hard time. She's done a good job coming off the line, but it's basically been one-on-one situations. And I think if the Knights could just get another player there, someone to drop to, someone to just run a simple square pass to, I think that would just change the game for them.
I think one thing to watch as well, if you saw the Knights in the first half, when they attacked, they all kind of bunched up in the middle and then tried to pass it back out to someone maybe for a 30-yard banger into the top corner. And they have done a really good job of adapting to the Randolph defense in this half by doing something a little bit different, more of kind of an individualized style of offense as opposed to the team-oriented pass it back to the 18 and pray for a good shot.
Yeah, it looks like the players getting up seems to be able to walk it off a little bit.
That's great to see. You see her walk off the field after that. You hate to see these young athletes, especially at this age in this competition, to get hurt because they have 3, 4, 5 years of schooling left to play this game that they love.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we have number 7, Sam Hablas there. Looks like she was getting maybe her knee possibly worked on a little bit, but she seems to be able to walk it off. May have just been a collision of knees or something of that nature, but she seems to be okay.
And it'll be interesting to see after this break, to see if the SVU Knights come out doing something different after that talk from their coach during that break.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of a timeout there. Basically, that's the best situation for the Knights there, really able to make some adjustments. Coach Cox able to have a word with them and try to change some things up. Hopefully you see an instant change as they only have 27 minutes left in the game.
That's true. With only 27 minutes left, it is definitely time to get something done. I don't think if they can get a goal in the next 10 minutes, if they can grab one, they're back in this game easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on the other end of that, Randolph's thinking we need to find ways to maintain possession and slow the game down. They don't want any attack here, and really they're going to take every opportunity to take any seconds off the clock that they get. So I think especially within the last 30 minutes here, we are going to see a couple of stalling tactics, a couple of time-wasting tactics, but I think both teams really need to make some adjustments here.
Now, you think coming out of this break, do you think it would be possible for Randolph to go to an offense is the best defense kind of mentality? Do you feel that's possible?
I think that they could for the next maybe 10 to 12 minutes, and then I think 10 minutes left, you start to slow it down. That's when the tactics really start to come in as far as wasting. Really, you can take about 20 seconds off the clock or more just with a simple throw-in or a goal kick, and I think Randolph not afraid to do that especially as the Knights may put more pressure on here and switch to more players in the attack.
As we see Randolph here kind of knocking at the Knights' door, looking for that brace goal, that second goal to put them up too.
It's like the ball hits the crossbar there and then ricochets up into the field goal post. That's a dangerous attack there from Randolph quickly off of the break.
Extremely nerve-wracking attack and show there from Randolph. Just, again, one of those kind of 1 in a million shots that you kind of see. They haven't had many shots all game, but the shots they've taken have been extremely scary.
I believe they have 2 shots in the game. Their first one, a goal. The second one hits the crossbar. So the quantity not there, but the efficiency is absolutely there.
It is definitely there.
That's a good job from the Knights. You can see the striker playing a little bit deeper there, moving towards the ball, and it opens up the sideline. Nice maintained possession.
Maintaining possession has been something the Knights have done throughout this game extremely well.
Yeah, they definitely have. Even though it hasn't resulted for them, they've been able to control the game, and it looks like really within the last probably 10 or 15 minutes is the only time that Randolph has really been able to try to swing the game in their favor. Aside from that, the Knights pretty much owned the first half.
Just long ball down the line by one of the Randolph midfielders. See who can get to it.
And Powell in a foot race there with number 19, Hunter Robinson. She always does a really good job getting to that ball, shielding it, just letting it roll out for a goal kick. Looks like we have number 22, Taylor Mercer, enter the field again.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mercer is a forward, so this might be an attack-oriented change here by SVU.
Yeah, absolutely. She's usually right at the top of the attack. She usually plays either the number 9 position or just the center forward. She usually does a really good job of getting the ball there upfield, but it looks like she has come on almost on the sideline there. Not sure.
Maybe to give the Knights a little more pace on those wings, try to spread out this Randolph defense and maybe find something open in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely, because they've had some chances in the middle, but it hasn't really resulted in anything for them. And I'd say they have been more dangerous on the wing, as has been true in games past as well.
And definitely, SVU has done an extremely good job at this half of sending that ball down the wing and finding an open space. Now all they need to now do is, again, have that number 9 in the middle and then see if they can get one.
Yeah, it looks like Mercer getting her first chance down the sideline here. Gets it to Shirley Morales-Yan.
There's a good pass with an early shot, but it is scooped up by Bates again. And SVU has gotten good space, but they might be pulling the trigger maybe just a little too early here.
I think they are. That has been a bit of a problem. Some of the shots aren't, they haven't been very powerful and really pretty easy for Bates there. Nothing too intimidating. I think the power definitely hasn't been behind some of the shots because they could be a little bit preemptive.
Maybe getting a little goal hungry as it's late in the second half and they're still down 1-0.
Yeah, it's intimidating. You can feel the pressure, not just of the defender around you, but the pressure of the game, being down 1-0. It does get to you, and so sometimes you pull the trigger a little bit early, as I think we've seen a couple of times there.
They'll restart the game on a Knights free kick back in their defensive zone. See if they can get something started from this set piece. Not a bad play from the Knights here as they have a throw down on the right wing of the field. They've been effective on the wings. See if they can make something out of this.
Looks like Randolph is electing to keep quite a few defenders back. They definitely don't want to give one up here.
And there's a good shot from outside of the 18 by the Knights. But again, just right at the goalkeeper, just being able to scoop up by Bates again.
Yeah, Taylor Mercer coming on and not afraid to shoot, but unfortunately, again, not quite what they need from the Knights. See a lot of time coming off there for that drop kick.
And definitely, I think at this point in the game, Randolph is electing the park the bus mentality. They maybe just want to walk away from this game with this 1-0 victory.
Yeah, if I was their coach, I would absolutely be happy with that. 2 shots so far in this game, one of them a goal. I'm walking away happy. You're walking away with a W if you can just park the bus, but the Knights looking to keep the pressure on here.
And it'll be interesting to see if the Knights, if they can find maybe a wrinkle in the defense of Randolph and be able to get a goal. As we see Randolph coming up on the side here on a good run, but swept up by the Knights defender and out for a corner kick, it looks like.
Hunter Robinson again up the sideline, and Powell doing a good job of shifting over and covering it. But this corner takes time off the clock.
Expect them to take plenty of time on this corner kick here. No rush for the Randolph College Wildcats.
Yeah, if I'm running this, I'm switching players right here too. Take another 30 seconds.
Low driving ball from the corner coming in. And looks like Randolph College will have another opportunity on the corner to maybe get a brace goal.
Number 16, Patricia Garrett on the corner.
Now there, that corner, it fell to the foot of one of the Wildcat attackers, but she just couldn't get anything on it on that kick.
Yeah, dangerous time for the Knights, though. They got to get this out quickly. They can't afford to have it in the box for too long.
And scooped up by goalkeeper Meredith Olet.
Yeah, Meredith Ouellette. She's done a pretty good job so far, with the exception of that one goal, which really she played pretty well. She's had a pretty solid night back for the Knights between the posts.
She did. She's had a very solid night tonight. Unfortunately, that one goal, kind of one of the fluke 1 in a million one-on-ones you'll get as a goalkeeper in this game, and it's extremely hard to stop those, especially when it happens as quickly and as abruptly as it did.
Yeah, it definitely came as a surprise to the Knights' back line, but
more than a surprise to the Knights, a surprise to everyone, probably everyone here at the fields in Buena Vista, Virginia.
Yeah,
didn't expect to see that coming.
Absolutely, is their first attack of the half, and really their only attack of the half, but capitalized on it.
And then it'll be a throw here on the opposite side of the field for the Wildcats.
You see some pretty good shifting from the Knights. You can see players moving around, getting into some different places, but unfortunately, all the movement hasn't really amounted to anything, as we'll see another probably 20 seconds come off the clock with the goal kick here.
No rush for Randolph College. It might. There is a sub.
Looks like we'll have number 19, Kylie Heiner, come on, and McCall Jensen, number 26 for the Knights as well.
Coming in for the Knights, a forward and a defender. Be interested to know what exactly the Knights coach is thinking here with this substitution.
Yeah, it looks like in the last 20 minutes you do want some fresh legs on. McCall Jensen has come on in the past for the Knights and been a pretty good possessor in the middle of the field. Hopefully she can continue that, as that's I think what the Knights need is someone that can slow the game down, find the pass that they need, rather than just taking the shot right off the bat.
Definitely, that's right. They need a good, solid presence there in the middle of the field. Maybe just get the ball, like you said, slow the game down, find an open man, and hopefully get a goal out of it.
Yeah, the Knights do have a very quick offense, and that is how their style of play that they favor. But in this instance, sometimes they have been a little bit too quick. It's hard to slow down when you're down. It's hard to take your time right before you're about to shoot, but that's unfortunately exactly what the Knights need. Great attack here as they build up down the sideline. Couple quick passes.
Still carrying the ball, the Knights down the sideline.
It's like Carissa Barton there on the sideline. Definitely done really well for the Knights on the wing. Cora Jewell on the ball now. Call Jensen crossing over to Shirley Morales-Yan. Stays on the ball. Elects to drop it back. Good control by the Knights here.
And if you're the Knights, it's important here at this stage of the game to not give up that ball in your secondary, to not give Randolph an opportunity to maybe get another fluke goal.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to keep control of the ball and realize, especially in their own defensive third, that is how the last goal came, was just a quick change of possession and then a ball over the top. So they're definitely looking to avoid that here.
Good ball in by Randolph. Well defended by the Knights.
Good opportunity for a counter here. Ann Powell bringing the ball up for the Knights. Plays it over to Carissa Barton. Cora Jewell in the center.
And a great move to beat the double team there.
This is
and
a
the
great
Knights
attack.
might be in.
And we'll have offsides, unfortunately, by the
Offside,
Knights.
Unfortunately.
Oh, such a great build-up from the Knights. The wonderful play into the center. Worked it all the way up through the middle and then just barely behind the defense there. But a wonderful job. Looked like number 4, Allie Rigby, one of the main scorers for the Knights, doing a great job getting in there, beating the goalie, but called back from offsides.
And, of course, you're the Knights. You'll be disappointed with the offsides call. But if you look on the bright side, that's a great offensive movement from the Knights. It definitely has to be enlightening for the spirits of these players to see them put the ball in the back of the net. But, unfortunately, for it not to go in.
Yeah, even though the points don't end up on the scoreboard, the momentum does end up on the field, and it definitely can bolster you up a little bit. So a great attack from the Knights there.
It'll be interesting to see if this momentum will shift in this game. The good life lesson we were taught back in elementary school was life is 90% what happens, or 10% what happens to you, and 90% of how you deal with it. And that I feel like that's the same with soccer.
Looks like it has affected Randolph. Oh, a great shot from well outside the box there. That was dangerous from Meredith Ouellette, having to jump for that, but sails just wide of the post. Looks like has affected the game, and Randolph electing to quickly resort back to their tactic of play a ball over the top and then take the immediate shot. Almost dangerous again for the Knights.
And for the Knights here, it's important to deal with this attack and shift it away and get on your offensive side of the field.
Yeah, and I think doing a good job here, not just clearing the ball up the field quickly, but trying to work it up like they did last time. Good job here working down that sideline. They've definitely been favoring that right sideline.
Especially late here in this half.
No call from the ref there.
No
Elects to
call
play
there.
advantage. Emma Schroeder in the middle of the field. Call Jensen comes out with the ball trying to turn. Emma Schroeder with a 30-yard shot. Another save for the goalie there, and really the Knights again pulling the trigger maybe a little bit too early. You can see the momentum's there. They're really good build-up again, but 30-yard shot on Bates has not been successful tonight.
And with that, you do have to commend the ability to keep the ball from the Knights, especially right up top of the Randolph 18 there. And so she was double teamed, and she got out of that double team, was able to find a pass, and just unfortunately maybe itchy trigger finger on that shot, leading to an easy save.
Oh, another great opportunity for the Knights there. McCall Jensen making a run into the box. Not sure, it looks like she wasn't quite ready for it. It was just a little bit ahead of her. Has been the plague of the Knights so far, but again, Bates on top of that, very quickly coming off the line and just eating that up. Looks like the Knights begin again as the drop kick goes immediately to the Knights. Loss of possession. Randolph attacking down the field.
Call there by the official, giving Randolph a free kick around the 40-yard line on their own attacking half. Not exactly sure what the call was there, but he must have saw something we couldn't hear.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of contact, but it seemed maybe could have gone. Randolph tries to settle the ball inside the box. Looks like number 19, Hunter Robinson. It's a rollout for a goal kick there.
And just a poor touch there in the box.
This game for the Bobcats, number 17, Hannah Overstreet. And for your Knights, number 24, Miley.
Looks like we have a couple substitutions. Number 17, Hannah Overstreet for the Bobcats. Looks like Kylie Auger, number 24 for the Knights, coming on. Really trying to keep the fresh legs in the last 15 minutes. Get a little bit of momentum. Sometimes just the person that can run is who needs to be there.
Great move by Randolph there for the shot. Unfortunately miscued wide right of the goal. Lucky for the SVU Knights to get away from that one without conceding a goal.
Yeah, number 10, Alina Jembach, running down the sideline there. Doing a pretty good job of just keeping it in front of her. I think that's what the Knights need, is a little bit of composure once they get down in the box. They've definitely had their fair share of a little bit of trickery from the Knights. You've seen some moves, but unfortunately it just hasn't gotten them in quite like that.
Not exactly. The Knights definitely do need composure, but I feel unfortunately as this game goes on, and maybe if the scoreboard stays this 1-0 that it is, the composure might and the patience might be just wearing just a little thin for this SVU Knights team.
Yeah, it looks like another miscommunication there as well. Could be a little bit of pressure starts to build in the last few minutes. It's true, and I think it does affect the Knights. It affects the mental play of the game as they continue to do what they've done all game and possessing the ball, getting great attacking opportunities, but not able to finish. Another foot race here against Ann Powell.
Big ball. And good work by SVU goalkeeper to come sweep that up and maybe start an attack for the Knights here.
Trying
Off
to
this
switch
punt.
the field. they have largely been attacking on the far sideline in this camera shot and electing to maybe try to work something down the middle. Great heel
back
pass
heel.
there.
The Knights have a chance. There's a shot. Oh, unfortunately, again, miskicked right in front of the Wildcats' goal there. Another opportunity for the Knights to snag this equalizer late in this game.
Beautiful play there. McCall Jensen with a great back heel to Allie Rigby. Ends up in the middle of the field. Looked like Taylor Mercer was the one that got the final shot there. But again, right into the arms of Bates. Knights really pressuring here. You can see 6 different players up in the attacking third. Doing a good job keeping their composure here, not just taking the shot. And now they take the shot and lose the composure right into the middle of the box. And again, Bates able to just scoop that up, who's continued to just tally up the saves tonight. That just continues to be an issue for the Knights. They have good composure. They work it around, and then one pass, and it's all over.
True, and you might have spoke a little bit too soon there talking about the composure. As soon as you said that, there was just this aimless pass right
curse
to
of the
Bates,
commentator.
right in there. Curse of the commentator. It's real, folks.
Looks like it sails out for a Knights throw-in. A good opportunity for him here to build, set up.
Enter the game for your Knights, number 5, Alissa Winterton.
Looks like we'll have another substitution, number 5, Alissa Winterton, coming onto the field.
Alissa Winterton out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Be nice for the Knights. Have some fresh legs on the field, maybe to get a late attack here late in the second half.
Yeah, she has had a few minutes in the first half as well, so it's good that she understands the tempo and the pace of the game. So she's able to just come in and hopefully benefit the Knights in their attack.
And that's something extremely important in this game, to know and kind of experience what the other team does. So when you come in again, you already know kind of what to expect and maybe adapt your play to fit that and benefit your team. Be interesting to see if the Knights here late in the second half can find the equalizer. They're definitely knocking on the door of the Wildcats here. But unfortunately, as we've seen time and time again, they lose their composure right on top of that 18.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, it is important for the players to be able to come on and recognize the pace of the game. So we have another substitution, number 13, Alex Uzdavinas, I believe.
I believe that's how you say it. This is a substitute for the Wildcats. It'll be interesting to see her effect on the game late in the second half.
She's listed as a defensive midfielder. So again, Randolph College Randolph College, excuse me, trying to slow down the play as we enter the last 8 minutes of the game here. That's all they really need in order to walk away with a win here. So definitely a lot of time coming off the clock on each of these drop kicks, the goal kicks, and doesn't help the Knights.
And if you're Randolph College, especially late in this second half, you want to minimize SVU's chances to even be in front of goal, because the mental kind of effect that it has on the defense to just kind of take all these blows towards the later game really gets them tired a lot quicker than it would if it were maybe early in the first half.
Yeah, which is why you may see some errant clearances from the back line rather than trying to play it out. They may just be going over the top, as looks like a few long passes already from them here.
Very true. We might see a little bit of kickball here in this soccer game.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's good to see the Knights trying to work it up as they move again across the midfield line.
It was a good idea to find her there in the middle. Unfortunately, she was double covered there. So a great run for the Knights, but just an unlucky pass at the wrong time.
Yeah, and I think with that last substitution, it looks like they have taken a defender out and elected to move up into the attack. Looks like they may be playing with 3 back now. They really do want to come off with at least a draw here. They have really controlled most of the game, played really well, but at the end of the day, the scoreboard is the ultimate decider.
It's very true, especially with the SVU Knights coming off that last game against Averett, that 1-1 draw. Definitely in this game, they want to at least come out with a win to have something coming into their next week against Salisbury.
Yeah, you really do. But so far, struggling for the Knights as they continue to pressure the Randolph College back line. But looks like another opportunity here as they bring the ball into the middle.
Again, attacking down that far right side of the field, looking for the corner maybe, or maybe just a cross to get their ball in there. You've got to commend the Randolph College left back here. She has been extremely busy late in the second half with SVU Knights pressuring her there.
Great cross in. Allie Rigby with the goal in the open center of the ball. A great cross in. Allie Rigby just scoops it up, takes a little move to the right, past the goalie, and right into the back of the net. Exactly what the Knights need here.
What a great turn of events for the Knights here late in the second half to grab that equalizer, maybe even with the 6 minutes left to go in this game, enough time maybe even to get the winner.
Yeah, absolutely. You can feel the momentum now, the crowd getting into it, and the Knights definitely exactly what they needed here. And really, a different tactic they've tried, make it all the way down to the end line and then just cross it in to a runner coming through. Allie Rigby in the right place at the right time, able to keep the composure, not shoot it first time, take one touch to the right. And for the first time tonight, we've seen Bates get beat.
Overall, great play, and I think that is a great idea to bring it down to that corner and send it in, because it's a lot harder for Bates to come and get that ball. She has 3 or 4 defenders in front of her blocking her side of the ball, as opposed to a through ball down the middle where she can just come and scoop it up. Overall, great play by the Knights and a great turn of events here at the fields in Buena Vista, Virginia.
Absolutely. As we mentioned, that seems to be Bates' only weakness, because if you do come down the line, she can't quite step out because it leaves the goal vulnerable in the center. So she elects not to come out that time until the ball is crossed in. But at that point, Allie Rigby already on the ball and able to capitalize. So the Knights able to find Bates' weakness tonight with most of the game gone and only 6 minutes remaining.
And better late than never to find that weakness, especially to get that 1-1 equalizer in this game. And we might see another attack here from the Knights as they dribble down in front of the Wildcats' goal.
Number 24, Kylie Auger taking the ball down. Taylor Mercer on the ball now. Like McCall Jensen there. Trying to get the ball back into the center here. Results in a change of possession. No, the Knights get it back again.
Great job keeping possession by the Knights here. They definitely want to keep this ball. They're looking definitely for the winner here.
Absolutely.
In these last 5 minutes.
You can feel the momentum of the previous goal from the Knights, doing a great job keeping the ball in the attacking third. Results in a throw-in for the Knights.
See if they can capitalize on this opportunity with this free throw-in here.
If I'm then, I'm making that run down the end line again and trying to cross it into the center.
Not exactly sure what that kick over the head was for. You really want to find the open player there. But to see if the Knights can capitalize on this with the ball at their feet. Good pass.
Looks like a shot ricochets off the defender there and result in a corner kick for the Knights. I believe they're first of the game.
It might be. And if you're a Knights fan, you have to be extremely excited with what this soccer team has put together in these last just 3 or 4 minutes here at the end of this game.
Absolutely, and this is a great opportunity for them here to try to get something. They do have a couple players that are really good in the air. Ball's crossed into the PK line. Hasn't resulted in anything for the Knights. Cora Jewell trying to get a shot here. Oh, and sails just wide of the goal.
Wide right from our angle here. It looked like it might have been just dipping into the top right corner, but just a little wide for the Knights as they continue to pressure this college's team.
And again, staying true to form against Randolph, they have, in the last 5 minutes of the game, played their best. In their last 2 home games, they seem to have just kind of not waited. They have been aggressive, but in their last 5 minutes, they've just stepped it up and played the best of the game and staying true to form. Again, getting a goal with only 6 minutes remaining.
They really have. And another late attacking opportunity here for the Knights as they send it in. It's there in the middle.
Allie Rigby with a great cross there, looking for Taylor Mercer in the center and just barely ahead. Oh, that's so close for the Knights.
True. And again, Bates coming out and just capturing and eating up that ball as she's done the entire game.
Yeah, I think the best way to get around that is just take it all the way down to the end line, and unfortunately the Knights not able to do so that time.
And if you're the Knights here, you do not want to give up a late game
No.
goal to the Wildcats here. You just do not want to do it.
Looks like they're doing a good job of getting back, but you can see the gap in the midfield a little bit big. Hopefully they're able to switch the field here and get it back up in their attacking third.
A little bit of change in pace here late in the game. You see both teams they want the ball at their feet and they want to get a goal and they want to get it quickly. And the tempo of the game has definitely shifted and turned up a notch here late.
Yeah, and it definitely has, and I think this quick, fast-paced tempo does favor the Knights, as primarily Randolph College has just elected to go over the top and play this 1v1 style of offense. So this quick passing seems to favor the Knights as they, again, try to work it up the sideline. Cora Jewell here. McCall Jensen crossing the ball in, but is unfortunately in an offside position there.
And that's something the Knights have to look out for, the offsides call here late.
Yeah, I think she was trying to turn around to see where the defender was, but the ball had already been passed, and she was unfortunately behind them already. Ball deep in the attacking third again for the Knights. Trying to find something.
It's important for the Knights here to control this ball, be able to find their attackers, and just Randolph College again, they're just trying to boot it over the back line of the Knights here to try to find a goal, as they did in the first half.
Yeah, that's the only strategy that's worked for them. So with about 45 seconds remaining, that's pretty much the only thing that they're going for, and the Knights trying to maintain the smooth possession that they've had. A little bit quicker pace, though, as we ended the last 40 seconds of the game.
And like you said earlier, this quicker pace definitely does favor the Knights, as they have such a quick team this year.
They really do. They have quite a few speedsters and a lot of runners, not afraid to get up and down. Looks like we might have another attack here by Randolph. Ann Powell doing a good job reaching out and just shutting that down. Keep the ball in front of her as she comes out with possession and makes her way up the sideline.
To get that ball out and to give her team time to kind of regroup.
7, 6, 5,
Knights looking for a final attack. Unfortunately, not enough time in the game. And that'll do it here for the Knights. Again, great possession there in the last 6 minutes, but you need that for the whole 90. You can't just wait until the last 6. They did a pretty good job, but the score unfortunately rounds out 1-1 for Randolph and Southern Virginia University.
And like you said, great game for both sides. SVU really coming alive in that last 15-minute period of the game. Would have been nice to see the Knights kind of do that throughout the full 90, like you said. But overall, just a really entertaining game here in Buena Vista, Virginia.
Absolutely. Even though the score comes away with a draw, I think both teams have a lot to address. I think really Coach Cox not unhappy with the teams here, but they will have more to address, as I believe we do move into an overtime period. I believe we'll have a quick 5-minute break, and then there will be 2 15-minute overtime periods. So the teams really, up until now, I think the Knights probably a little bit less happy about the 1-1 score. Randolph really benefiting from this this 1-1 draw so far, but again, we'll see how the last 30 minutes goes.
We'll definitely see, and I definitely think with these 2 overtime periods, the momentum really does favor the Knights in this situation. Coming off that late goal in the late second half, I think this is a great opportunity for the Knights to get ahead early in this overtime period to maybe grab 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, they really they just need to get 1 here. That's all they really need, and they just need to get it quickly. They can't continue to wait as they did in the regulation 90 minutes. They really waited until the last 15, 10, and then the last 6. You definitely saw a change in pace, but Coach Cox, I'm sure, trying to bolster them up for what's to come.
Very true. And if they can just get a quick goal here, and then they can really just kind of park the bus, play defense, and kind of protect that 2-1 lead. But I really do think throughout this game, that first full-time 90, you really got to take your hat off for Randolph's goalkeeper, Bates, in that situation. Her coming out on all those through balls and just eating them up. That was her 18-yard box, and everything in it belonged to her during that first 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, which if you're the Knights, they definitely need to continue what they did that worked for them there in the first half and get the ball all the way down to the side or all the way down to the end line and then try to find a cross into the center. But we'll see how they play it here as we enter. It'll be 2 10-minute periods, and it will be golden goal. So whoever scores first, the game will be over. Really, so the Knights definitely have to be the first to score. Otherwise,
really
that'll be it.
Now, to kind of play devil's advocate here, if you were Randolph College in this situation, what are you telling your team coming in this overtime period?
The only thing that's worked for him so far has been a long ball over the top. If they're not going with that, it's going to be very difficult for him to get anything going offensively. And it's not a great game strategy, but it wasn't a great game strategy for them for 90 minutes, and yet really they led they led the whole game aside from the tie with 6 minutes remaining. So it isn't a brilliant strategy, but you have to play to your strengths, and so far the only strength against the Knights has been a long ball over the top.
True, and the SVU Knights have to know that. So if you're the SVU Knights, do you take the chance and maybe run an offside trap here in this coming? I wouldn't personally, just for the chance of a referee maybe getting an offsides call wrong, but it's definitely an option coming in this overtime period.
It is a very risky, but with a defender on the back line like Ann Powell, she's very quick, and if say in the worst case scenario a ref does get the call wrong, she would be the person to be able to get back, but it's a risky game, especially in a goal situation. You can't give anything up. Some stats for you here. At the end of regulation, the Knights with 19 shots, 12 of which were coming in the second half, to Randolph's 4. That right there is a very telling stat. The Knights getting almost 20 shots off throughout this game, only one of them in the back of the net. Randolph, on the contrary, only 4, but one of them in the back of the net. Their first shot as well.
Almost a video game-esque. You're playing your friend, you're just dominating the entire time. SVU said, like you said, almost 20 shots on the game, but only one going in there. And the same for Randolph. They've only had 4. They've made 25% of their shots here.
Yeah, it really has been quite a statistically interesting game, as it's difficult to tell, but the Knights really have owned it. The only thing that they've given up was just one attack, and Randolph able to capitalize on it. But again, the Knights hoping to just continue here, come out quickly. They don't need to waste time. They've clearly owned the game. They've had the most attacking opportunities. They've owned the game, and yet here we are in a golden goal situation.
You just got to be a little frustrating for the Knights, because when you go back and watch this game film, you'll just see the Knights logo is stamped all over this game, all on the offensive side. They just had trouble really taking those good shots and finding the good shots to put it in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we addressed, Bates in the goal for Randolph College, 7 saves in the second half alone, 9 total for the game. Really, definitely the saving grace of Randolph College's. Their attack has certainly not kept them in this game by any means, but I think has been Bates between the posts.
Really, and a lot of those saves counted here on the stat sheet are not counted, the ones where she comes and scoops out a through ball. Those most of the times are not counted as saves, but you cannot neglect the importance of those decision-making skills that she has.
Absolutely. Only 7 statistical saves, but a presence far beyond the 9 technical saves that she has.
Very true. As we get underway here in the first overtime period, it'll be interesting to see how both teams respond to one another after facing each other for 90 whole minutes, to see if something changes or does everyone stick to the same game plan.
A lot of times in these situations, both teams feeling the pressure, feeling the intensity. We can see the game escalate just a little bit. So far, it hasn't really been too bad. We've had a little bit of contact between both teams. The Knights definitely escalating in the second half with 5 fouls as compared to their just 1 in the first half. Randolph been pretty even across the board, 4 fouls in both half. But again, as we enter these last 10 minutes or 2 10-minute periods, you can see the game escalate a little bit, and I think that would favor the Knights, as they're definitely a little bit more of a physical, quick team. So we'll see how it goes for them here.
That will be interesting to see if the game escalates, maybe even to a little feistier level. You see, as the foul is already starting to be called here in this overtime period, and a yellow card being displayed for number 16 of Randolph College. I believe that is Patricia Garrett. She's a center back for Randolph College, her being displayed the yellow card after that foul on the Knights. And the Knights here will now have a set-piece opportunity right in front of the Randolph goal, hopefully being able to take advantage of this opportunity they've been given.
Yeah, absolutely. And Randolph doing the smart thing here and recognizing that you have to be 10 yards away and electing to take the 5, which is clearly marked on the football field. So that's exactly what you do in this situation. You don't want to give up anything quick. That's unfortunately smart play by Randolph College. The ref counting them off now. Very easy to tell where 10 yards is on the football field, as they are clearly marked for you. So no lying about that one.
And true, with all those lines on the field, it can get sometimes confusing to know which lines is being played for the soccer. We know here that the black lines on the field represent these soccer lines, but sometimes it can get confusing when you think that the out of bounds line is the yard box.
Cordial with a shot on goal, electing to just go straight for the goal. Challenge Bates early. I think really a good decision, keep the pressure on, but unfortunately was just kind of in the center of the goal. Not really a challenge, as Bates has had a pretty good night so far. You're going to have to get one better than that to beat her.
No, she really didn't have to move her feet at all for that shot. It was a great idea to keep the pressure, like you said, but you definitely want to get that ball more on the open side of the net. It is a 20-foot box, after all, and to hit that goalkeeper is actually harder than it is to hit the wide open parts of the goal.
Randolph, interesting here, electing to work the ball out, something we really didn't see from them in regulation 90 minutes, but working the ball upfield, stealing the Knights' strategy here.
Very true. They're having a lot more passing, a lot more meaningful passes here as opposed to the poke and hope they were playing throughout the first 90. Interesting to see here from Randolph College as they come into this overtime period with a different game plan than they had in the beginning of the game.
Looks like we'll have the ball roll out for a Knights goal kick. A little bit of contact there in the midfield, but ref either didn't see it or electing to continue play.
Unfortunate touch there by the Knights when they had a really good opportunity there on goal. And ball stolen in the Knights secondary by Randolph College. They have an open opportunity here at goal. But well defended there by the Knights as they clear it out and give themselves space and time to be able to regroup and kind of refocus on this game.
Yeah, really something we haven't seen too much from the Knights either. Both teams kind of going with a different strategy as we mentioned in the overtime periods. You can feel the pressure just so much more. Everything's just there, and so the hasty decisions sometimes are a little bit tougher.
And there's a good ball by Randolph College down the line. See if they can make something of it. Well defended, but unfortunately a missed kick on the clearance, giving the ball back to Randolph at the top of the 18, but the Knights take it right back on a fortunate series of events there.
Taylor Mercer bringing the ball across midfield, looking for, looks like we have 24, Kylie Auger, trying to play the ball deep into the corner for Allie Rigby.
Now what you saw the SVU Knights there was what you saw Randolph Wildcats doing for the majority of the game, getting that ball and kind of poking it, trying to get it over that back line for an easy goal. Maybe we see both teams kind of switching to the other one's strategy here in overtime, it seems like.
That is a very unusual strategy by both teams, but it seems to be what they've chosen to do.
And true, in overtime, it might be a good idea to change. It might be a good idea to stay. Sometimes you can change your mentality after that first 90 minutes and be caught out and then unfortunately concede a goal. We'd hate to see that happen here for the Knights, but we'd love to see the Knights grab a goal and then end this game on a golden goal rule.
Yeah, all you need is one. Doesn't matter how you get it. Looks like McCall Jensen trying to get her shot from about 20 yards out and sails wide for a goal kick.
I just want to point out McCall Jensen for a little bit here. She has done an extremely good job of anchoring that top. Every ball has really come through her throughout this game, giving SVU the chance to get some good shots.
Ball coming over the top there. Not looked like McCall Jensen was in the area, but didn't seem to be the drawn-up play for the Knights. But fortunately, he'll go out for a throw-in.
Another good opportunity here for the Knights in the attacking side of the field. Let's hope they can make something of this opportunity. Now, Knights player is down, but there was no call on the field. It'd be interesting to see what actually happened there. We don't have a very good view here from our booth, but it'd be interesting to see what happened there to the Knights as she just kind of fell to the dirt.
Looked like there was a little bit of contact from the back, but the ref electing to continue play. Knights building again. Cordial trying to find another sideline pass. Really been quite effective for the Knights as they were able to move it 20, 30 yards up the field at a time. But Taylor Mercer there not able to hold on to the ball.
That ball kind of pinging around midfield right there. First it's the Knights, and then it's the Wildcats, then back to the Knights and back to the Wildcats. No one can really get a hold of this ball at this moment. No one has complete control.
A lot of contact there with Ann Powell in the defense, but again, contact has gone up, but the referee's whistle so far has not increased any more than we saw in the regulation period.
That's true, and I've been playing soccer for a very long time, and I've reffed a few years, and you'd always notices sometimes the women's games get a little bit rougher than the guys' games, actually. Some of the guys can go down fairly easy, but these girls, they just want to keep fighting.
It's certainly a different method of physicality as well. It's definitely a different game, but
It's true.
I've seen the physicality up by both teams here. 7 minutes have gone. Looks like we'll have a throw in.
Not sure where that pass was headed for the Knights. It might have just been a clearance to give them some time to regroup. Quick throw in by the Wildcats here. Intercepted by the Knights towards the 40. See what they can do here, pass down the line. Now there in that situation, they had an open square pass. They might have been able to get something going there, but unfortunately just a little misdirected on the wrong angle, and it's intercepted.
Yeah, players looking to build out into space, looking to attack, but hard to maintain the patience, and especially, as it is the time that it is, very difficult to do. Looks like McCall Jensen trying to make a run, get it back from Cora Jewell. Open in the center.
Open there in the middle. A good pass there. See if she can turn and make something.
Turn, left-footed shot, but again, Bates been just a rock between the posts tonight. Nothing getting through her.
She's had everything. And again, I think maybe a little itchy trigger finger there from the Knights when they had the open shot. Something to be impressed with here is you're late in the game in a first overtime period after the 90 minutes, and there have been no signs of wear from either teams here. Both teams going at it tooth and nail, just as they were in the first 90.
Yeah, it looks like Randolph getting a pretty good opportunity here, but is called for offsides, fortunately for the Knights.
Lucky by the Knights there, because it looked like she was in there.
She was
Randolph-
definitely behind the line.
She was definitely behind the line, even behind the keeper at one point before the flag went up.
Yeah, both teams getting some dangerous opportunities here.
And if you're the Knights, what do you want to do to kind of shut that down, to keep that pressure down at this point in the game?
I think really they have done a pretty good job in maintaining it, but it's such a difficult thing. They don't want to change too much from what they've gone with for the first 90 minutes of the game, 100 minutes now, but they do. It's just little adjustments, really. I don't think there's anything major that they need to do. They've done pretty good, but I think at this point communication is the only thing. It's difficult to hear from the sidelines, in particular, how the communication is, but you can tell there has been a couple of breakdowns. Knights getting a free kick here.
On that hard foul from the Wildcats there against the Knights, and just immediately turned over back to the Wildcats' ball.
Not exactly what you want to see. It could be a little bit of fatigue starting to factor in. We haven't really
Maybe.
seen anything of that, as you mentioned, but could be.
Maybe a little bit of mental fatigue as the pressure of the game builds throughout and it's wide open there in the middle for the Knights. Good move.
Number 22, Taylor Mercer, and puts it in
Shot
the goal.
there.
Able to get it over the top of Bates, gets a hand on it, but it rolls into the back of the net, and the Knights come away with the win.
That is a great goal by Southern Virginia. They had it in the open space. She turned, took the first shot she saw, and then got it there for the overtime win. Great showing by the SVU Knights here.
Beautiful job getting open in the center, turning, facing the goal, and she took her time, took a step, and just tried to chip it over. It looked like Bates got a hand on it, just pushed it up, not able to push it over the crossbar as she had come off the line, which, how ironically, has been where she's been so solid all game, results in her downfall, as it just couldn't push it over. She's too far out, and then all of a sudden in the back of the net, and the Knights come away with a win, 2-1 over Randolph College.
Like you said, great turn of events there for the Knights. Bates was caught out a little bit in no man's land there. She might have come out to one-on-one it, but the shot came quick, and she just couldn't get enough palm on it to get it over the crossbar.
Beautiful job there. Taylor Mercer had been a threat all game. Really been the pass that the Knights have been looking for the entire time. Finally able to capitalize. Looked like the two center backs for Randolph had pulled up just a little bit, creating that space for her to be in there, and not able to come away with that as Taylor Mercer too much of a threat there in the end.
Chris, a great job, and Sam, obviously a tremendous effort by the Knights to pull out the overtime victory. The last thing they wanted to do was go to double overtime like they did Saturday at Averett.
Absolutely. That just, it takes a toll on you. And made it 9.5 minutes in there, but able to get the win in the end.
Strange game today. Again, the Randolph College not getting a whole lot of opportunities, but for the longest time on top in this game, 1-0. But the Knights made some crucial goals down the stretch, one to force overtime, one to win it in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. The attacking presence from the Knights not ending there. Really down most of the game. The only time they took the lead was right there at the end, but that's the time that it counts, so that's all they need to see.
So now they've got Salisbury coming up Saturday at 5:30, part of that triple header we mentioned, football at 1 o'clock, followed by women's soccer and then men's soccer. These two double overtime against Xavier. It's single overtime today against Randolph. Stamina-wise, that could impact him, do you think, Saturday against Salisbury?
I think they have enough time that they can recover before Saturday. I think they have had some pretty good training so far. Coach Cox does a really good job of keeping them in shape. They had quite a few substitutions as well. Looked like a couple players stretching, maybe getting a little bit of cramping, but really not doing too bad. I think they'll be able to maintain their composure for Saturday.
So again, a big win tonight for Southern Virginia University women's soccer in overtime. They defeat Randolph College 2-1. Congratulations to the Knights. I'm Jim Bresnahan. For Chris and Sam and our director Craig Reese and all of our fantastic production staff here at Southern Virginia University, thanks again for joining us, everyone, for Southern Virginia University women's soccer tonight.